Good afternoon, I'm Rob Boskamp, and you're listening to South Texas Midday. Thank you for joining me on this Tuesday, October 7th. Corpus Christi City Council meets today in its regularly scheduled meeting. On the agenda includes discussion and possible action on a separate outside attorney for the internal investigation on the Homewood Suites fraud allegations. Also, several agenda items include an ordinance appropriating additional funding for an airport grant in the amount of $16,000 from the Federal Aviation Administration for the Terminal Building Rehabilitation Project. Also, an ordinance to authorize acceptance of grant funds of about $106,000 from the Texas Department of Transportation. That is for the 2026 Comprehensive Selective Traffic Enforcement Project, which will cover overtime for sworn officers to increase traffic enforcement in Corpus Christi. The full agenda and public comment session signups are available online at corpuschristitx.gov. Tomorrow, the Nueces County Commissioners Court will gather their and community inputs on potentially merging the Office of Justice of the Peace's Precinct 1. Precinct 1 is the only precinct in the county with 3 JP positions. If the proposal is approved, Precinct 1 will be merged at the end of 2026, the end of the current office holder's term. That meeting will take place at 9 a.m. Wednesday in the Commissioner's Courtroom at Nueces County Courthouse at 901 Leopard Street. The city of Victoria has appointed its police department Deputy Chief Clay Fetters as Interim Chief of Police. Chief Chuck Young announced his resignation last week. His final day is Friday. Fetters joined the VPD in 2008. He served as Captain of Investigations, SWAT Commander, Lieutenant of Patrol and Support Services, and most recently, Deputy Chief of Operations. Fetters also had a 30-year military career, retiring as a major in the Texas Army National Guard earlier this year. City officials also said he led life-saving disaster response operations during Hurricane Harvey and Tropical Storm Imelda. Visitors to national parks in Texas, including Padre Island National Seashore, may find a lack of services in the wake of the government shutdown, but exact details are unknown. Texas Public Radio's Jerry Clayton has more.
Visitors to Texas national parks like Big Bend National Park and the Padre Island National Seashore are likely to encounter a lack of services. According to the National Park Services, both will remain mostly open, but there will be limited or no staffing. Previous shutdowns led to lack of maintenance and a buildup of trash and waste at the sites, and in one instance, vandalism at Big Bend. Websites to all national parks have a message at the top which links directly to the government shutdown contingency site from the Department of the Interior. The information doesn't shed any light on what services are available at individual parks, but does say open-air areas such as roads, trails, and overlooks will stay accessible, but staffed facilities like visitor centers will close. I'm Jerry Clayton in San Antonio.
It's only fair that questions arrive with new seasons. For instance, I want to walk the new Harbor Bridge. Where do I park? Flatiron Dragados said a public parking lot on North Beach will open this week near Churchdale Avenue. In addition, a spokesperson for the group told KRAS 6 News there is a parking lot on Lake Street in Winnebago next to TC Ayers Park. The lot has sidewalk access to the shared use path on the new bridge. The path is open to walkers, bikes, and skateboards. However, rented motorized scooters are prohibited by the city. The La Jolla ISD School Board unanimously voted to extend Superintendent Marcy Sorensen's contract through 2030. According to the Brownsville Monitor, her base salary will be over $345,000. The extension was approved at a meeting in August and was part of Sorensen's annual evaluation. The contract's employment is until the end of June of 2030. Starr County leaders are looking to get a part of $50 billion in funding as part of the Rural Health Transformation Program. KRGV reports that leaders met yesterday to gather ideas on how the funding could be used. States will have to apply to receive a portion of the funding, which is part of the Big Beautiful Bill. Rural healthcare providers will then need to apply to the state to get a cut. Starr County Memorial Hospital hopes to get some of that funding.
We want to expand and be able to have more clinics or maybe mobile clinics throughout the county. We want to expand our EMS service. We want to expand our emergency room services also.
That was Adrian Guerra, Starr County Memorial Hospital Board President, speaking with KRGV. The hospital will have to follow certain guidelines in order to receive a portion of the funding. This includes making sure expanded programs will continue after the federal program ends in 2030. In national news, President Trump has authorized the Texas National Guard to deploy to other states to assist with federal immigration enforcement. That includes Illinois and Oregon, where protests broke out over the weekend outside immigration offices. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is pushing back. Yesterday, he called the move a, quote, invasion. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he's backing the order, arguing Texas National Guard members are needed to protect federal employees. Illinois has sued to stop the deployment, but a federal judge has already declined to block it. Meanwhile, back in Texas, a Plano man says if Attorney General Ken Paxton's divorce records can be sealed, his should too. But as KERA's Toluwani Osibamo reports, legal experts say it doesn't always work like that.
Donald Miles unsuccessfully asked a Collin County judge to seal his divorce records, saying it could damage his reputation, but a judge let the Paxtons keep the details of their divorce private. Family law attorney Christine Andreessen says public figures often have a better case for sealing their records.
It could be splashed all over, TMZ or some tabloid or whatever, whereas it's rare that people look up their next door neighbor's court records.
But she also says it's an unpredictable process that depends on the facts and individual judges. Meanwhile, news organizations are arguing in court that the Paxtons' divorce record should be public. I'm Toluwani Osibamo in Plano.
New consumer patient research from the American Heart Association found 62% of patients with atrial fibrillation had no prior knowledge of the condition before being diagnosed. Also known as AFib, it is a serious condition that can lead to blood clots, stroke, heart failure, and other heart-related complications. In this week's Vital Signs, KERA's Sam Baker talked about AFib with Dr. Brian Lay of Texas Health, Dallas.
They would have palpitations. They would have fatigue. They feel lightheaded, that something is off, especially when they exercise. They feel like they can't do as much, and they get short of breath with exertion.
And all of that stems from what? What exactly is atrial fibrillation?
The very root of AFib is where your heart beats out of rhythm. The heart is irregular and fast, and in the upper chamber, in layman's terms, is going about 300 to 500 beats per minute. So there is no movement of blood. So blood is stagnant. It can thick up and form a clot, hence the risk of a stroke. And because the upper chamber is going so fast, the bottom chamber beats irregularly and chaotically and very fast as well, hence the symptoms of fatigue and dyspnea on exertion. They can't, when they exercise, they get short of breath.
What causes this to begin with?
Well, the most common cause is getting older, and I call this a disease of the privileged. You've lived long enough that now all the wears and tears of life contribute to creating AFib. There's a very small variant called lone AFib that happens in very young people. That's about 1% of the time. The majority of atrial fibrillation is caused by us getting older and having some diseases that can contribute to causing AFib, such as high blood pressure and diabetes, obstructive sleep apnea, and lung disease.
There have been reports that cases of AFib are expected to double by 2030. There are around 6 million or more so now in the U.S. What's driving this?
Well, because our medical technology has gotten so good that people are living longer. And the longer you live, the more likely you are to see this disease. Especially in developed countries, we see much more AFib than third world countries.
Is AFib treatable or curable?
It is modifiable. I would borrow the same concept from cancer, that if you are AFib-free, when you have an ablation done, I would say that you are in remission. And it's important to focus on lifestyle changes in order to keep AFib away, such as controlling your diabetes, controlling your blood pressure, getting treated for obstructive sleep apnea, and most importantly, losing weight. Getting yourself into a heart-healthy place and allowing you to fight Father Time in a way that is meaningful to give yourself better quality of life.
Those are the best guards against AFib?
Yeah, I think that it goes hand in hand. So before you are diagnosed with AFib, you can do all of these lifestyle things that we mentioned to try to keep yourself from having AFib or having other diseases down the line. But once you have AFib, proper treatments such as being on a blood thinner, being on medication to control the heart rate to keep you in rhythm, having an ablation done to promote regular rhythm, and then in conjunction with all those things in parallel, to do all of the lifestyle changes in order to keep AFib away.
You said an ablation. What's an ablation?
An ablation is where an electrophysiologist like myself would enter the heart through an IV placed in the groin, and we can modify the substrate by targeting the areas, the pulmonary veins, that harbor the trigger for atrial fibrillation. By keeping the trigger from entering the heart, we can keep AFib away. Furthermore, in the more advanced stages of AFib, where there are more scars developed, we can render these scars inert so that they don't contribute to promoting atrial fibrillation.
Dr. Brian Lay is a clinical cardiac electrophysiologist with Texas Health Dallas and Texas Health Physicians Group. And the Texas Cottage Food Law governs what food products may be prepared in a home kitchen and sold directly to consumers. This law covers some, but not all, foods sold at farmers markets, according to myrgv.com. Last month, SB 541 became law, essentially allowing Texas farmers markets to function more like other markets across the country. Labeling requirements have changed, and the amount of money that may be earned has increased, now with a provision to increase regularly. Wholesale sales are possible with some items and can even be prepared at the market. Some foods that do not fall under the cottage food law and home production include meat and poultry products, seafood, and raw milk. And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp, your community arts calendar, and more is on the way.